Good evening and welcome to Chronicle. I'm David Charnes. Maine is in the midst of an epidemic. Last year, 272 Mainers died from drug overdoses. That's up 31% from the year before. Heroin or fentanyl blamed for 157 of those deaths in 2015, 111 from pharmaceutical opioids. And those opioids, those prescription pills, what users say is the gateway drug, readily available right here. According to a 2014 CDC report, Maine ranked first in the nation for long-term prescriptions per capita. Addiction is reaching every Maine community, killing loved ones and leaving families desperate for help.
You know, I went from playing with Matchbox cars to partying. There really wasn't an in-between.
I needed it. I needed it to get up every day. I needed it to get out of the house every day, to shower. I needed it.
You really just let go and we try to escape from reality.
Daddy's sick and he tries to give himself medication.
I never really had hope for myself. I thought I was going to just live that fast-paced lifestyle for the rest of my life.
It's scary how fast you go mentally and physically.
You know, I convulsed, I foamed from the mouth. Luckily somebody found me.
He's unconscious on the floor in the bathroom. She couldn't wake him up, so she knew he was dead.
I seen him laying right there, and I could tell he was dead. I seen a needle on his lap, and I seen the spoon, and I knew instantly something was wrong.
I was in my mathematics classroom at Lawrence High School, asked to come to my principal's office to hear the worst sentence I'll ever hear in my life. We regret to inform you that your son has been found deceased.
That's what I honestly thought, that I could keep him safe. It didn't work. It's really hard to be married to someone who is so ashamed of himself and hides things from you, but I still would give anything to do it all over again.
Loss of a child isn't anything you get over. You learn to live with a hole in your heart. It's with you all the time. It's been almost 6 years. Sometimes it seems like 6 minutes. I still wake up crying at night.
Just some of the people we've met and some we've lost. Tonight on Chronicle, how the heroin epidemic is affecting Mainers from every angle, and there is help out there. You will see a constant stream of information right at the bottom of your screen with resources available right now. Tonight we begin with a story that intertwines addiction and enforcement, how Maine's heroin and opiate epidemic crept into our state and right into a sergeant's life.
I travel 200 to 300 miles every night.
You could say the drug overdoses in Oxford County will always be part of Sergeant Matthew Baker.
We've never had the epidemic that we're having now.
An epidemic that claimed 272 Mainers last year. And when those calls for help come in, Sergeant Baker is there.
What goes through my mind is dread, because I don't want to have to tell somebody that their family member has died.
The morning of February 26 would be no different.
When I came home, everything was quiet.
It's 2:30 at the house, eerily still, his family asleep. Baker's 23-year-old daughter, Ronnie, her boyfriend, and their 11-month-old daughter.
So I knew that there was something wrong.
Among that silence, a light peeking out from the second-floor bathroom.
I hollered upstairs and nobody answered me. The door was closed.
The commotion awoke Ronnie's boyfriend.
He opened up the door and he started hollering to me.
Inside, Ronnie was slumped over the toilet, and there was powder on the counter.
It was obvious she'd been snorting some type of drug.
Sergeant Baker was now on the other side of the call.
I called 911 and spoke with my dispatcher and told her who it was, and then I needed some help.
He performed CPR.
And that was the last of any activity that I saw in her.
Waiting for help.
They gave her several doses of Narcan, but it was too late.
Ronnie Baker died the morning of February 26th. Her cause of death? Accidental overdose on heroin and fentanyl, drugs that Baker says his daughter bought in New Hampshire. She had spent her tax refund to get high.
We didn't know what was going on until it was too late.
There'd been a history of substance abuse, pills, but never heroin.
And the addiction changes people. It makes good people do bad things, but it doesn't necessarily make them bad people. You like the butterfly?
Now a year later, Ronnie's daughter Claire is 2, living with Baker and his wife in a house full of memories.
She knows her mom. She looks at the pictures, and She knows who it is. Oh,
And when she asks for Mom, the two look up, past that second-floor bathroom, right to the sky.
I've always told her that full moon is Mom. And we go outside, and she says, "Good night, Moon," and "Good night, Mom."
We were all looking at that full moon tonight. Sergeant Matthew Baker joining us now with Andrew Kazulis, who's the chapter lead of Young People Recovery in Portland. Sergeant Baker, thanks so much for sharing your story. We've talked about how you wearing that uniform says so much about what's happening right here in our state. What are your thoughts on that story?
It's hard watching that story. I wish we didn't have this epidemic. I wish it would go away. It doesn't seem to be getting any better, and I wish we could snap our fingers and start all over.
When you were in that moment, did you see any signs? We talked a little bit about how there wasn't really a forewarning of what happened on that February night, but was there anything you felt that you could, now looking back on it, that you feel like you could have done?
I don't think that I could have changed anything. Looking back on it, to the borrowing of $40 at a time or $20 at a time, or seeing that much money disappearing in those increments, deep down inside I knew that something was wrong. I didn't know how to fix it. I offered my help to her over and over and over, and she would not accept that help. She would not admit there was any kind of a problem.
Andrew, you see this kind of thing all the time. So is it a similar story that you had?
Definitely. My mother is in the same way. Would talk to me, ask me questions, and as often as I could and as best I could, I tried to be honest with her. But there was so much that I felt too scared and too ashamed to talk to her about. It really wasn't until it was totally undeniable what was happening that real open dialogue started, and the conversation switched to all right, let's get to what are we doing? Let's try to do something. Let's keep trying to do something different. Let's keep working towards this. But yeah, there's lots of similarities, and unfortunate similarities too.
In one of the things that we talked about when we met Claire at your house and saw how great she is, how she has no idea really what's going on, but she does know who her mom is, and you've really made it a point that you want to show her and tell her about the disease. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Absolutely. We've kept everything from the time Claire's mother was born until the time that we had the funeral, so that as Claire gets older, Claire can be exposed to all of this. I think it's very important that she know who her mother was, and I don't want her to hear when she's older that her mother was a bad person or something, because she really wasn't. She suffered from a disease, and I think it's important that Claire know that when she's older.
And Andrew, to play off that a bit, how important for you, because I know it's super important for you, not using words like addict and saying that this is a disease, this is a disorder.
Definitely. Nouns carry with them a lot of weight, and specifically the word addict. We're certainly not trying to change safe spaces where people speak certain languages that are understood, and that's awesome. I certainly got a lot out of that too. But in the public, for people who are still in active misuse, who are still really seeking relief from this shame and this feeling of not understanding why they just can't fit in or can't function or can't relate or connect, and labeling. It carries with it a lot of weight, and it really does. It separates people from engaging in help-seeking behaviors, and that's definitely part of my story.
So in the last couple seconds that we'd have, I would ask, how would you like someone who's watching this, who is experiencing this, to react to this tonight?
if they're afflicted with this disease, then I would hope that they would take advantage of Project Hope in the southern part of the state, Project Save Me in Oxford County, the law enforcement people and the medical people that are here to help them.
All right, well, we have a lot more ahead. Coming up, the life-saving drug on the front lines in the fight against overdoses.
If I can save a life, why not? There's no downside to it. I can't imagine why somebody wouldn't want to have that.
We'll take a closer look at Narcan. That is coming up in just 2 minutes.